Morning, here are headlines at 6 o'clock, and another Greek holiday island is hit by wildfires. Evacuations are now underway in Corfu as the north of the island is threatened.
Relief flights will arrive in Rhodes today to help bring back British tourists who are among the 19,000 displaced by fires there.
It is horrendous. It's absolutely, I've never been so scared my entire life. I mean, especially when we went running down to the beach.
Spain's general election ends in deadlock. The centre-right People's Party wins the most seats, but it may not be enough to avoid another vote.
Have shoppers lost their appetite for meat alternative and vegan food? Cost of living pressures mean many feel it's simply too expensive. I come to a factory in Milton Keynes to find out more.
Good morning. Brian Harmon makes it through the rain at Royal Liverpool. Despite soaking conditions, it is all smiles as the American holds his nerve to win the Open.
British cinemas report their biggest audiences since before the pandemic, thanks to the release of two blockbuster films, Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Several big events were disrupted over the weekend due to the heavy rainfall and flooding. The organisers of Northern Pride in Newcastle were forced to close the festival site because it was deemed to be unsafe, while the Blue Dot Festival in Cheshire had to turn people away when entrances flooded. Organisers said the water level had reached saturation point after unprecedented amounts of rain. The number of breakdowns caused by potholes has hit a 5-year high this spring, according to new figures. The RAC said its patrols went out to more than 8,000 incidents caused by poor road surfaces. The government has already announced an extra £200 million to help local authorities in England pay for repairs.
Calls for a statue of wartime hero Alan Turing to be placed on Trafalgar Square's fourth plinth have been backed by the LGBTQ+ Armed Forces charity Fighting with Pride. The plinth currently has no permanent display. Instead, the Mayor's fourth plinth commission has used it to showcase temporary installations.
Let's have a look at this morning's newspapers, shall we? And as you might expect, lots of them are leading with the terribly difficult situation in Greece at the moment. This is the Metro saying roads on fire, alongside an image you can see here of families making their way to safety on the holiday island.
Some horrific pictures, aren't they?
Yeah.
The Daily Telegraph reporting that travel companies are under pressure to repatriate thousands of Britons from Greece. The paper says the Prime Minister is urging firms to ensure that tourists who want to return home can do so.
The Eye says the Conservatives are being warned against fiddling with green policies in the face of what it calls a widening split in the party over whether to scrap unpopular, expensive climate pledges.
And The Guardian features an image of England cricket captain Ben Stokes, who says losing the Ashes series is a tough pill to swallow. He looks really fed up, doesn't he? Australia, of course, retained the urn with one test still to play after the fifth day at Old Trafford was washed out by heavy rain. And that wasn't the only one, was it?
Yeah, there's a theme this morning, isn't there? Let's take a look at this. This is an image we've picked to share with you today. This is spectators sat in torrential rain yesterday. You've got to really love golf to do that, haven't you? That's the Open at Hoylake, which is, of course, Royal Liverpool. And it was a tremendous few days, really incredible event, a gorgeous place to host it, right on the beach, very beautiful. But the weather was terrible.
And that could really have been so many events in so many parts of the country over the last couple of days.
I think lots of things were cancelled, I think, over the weekend, particularly in the north. Flood alerts in the north of England yesterday. Obviously, the Open we've mentioned, the Ashes we've mentioned, the Blue Dot Festival, which was in Cheshire. You know, lots of smaller concerts and things. Yeah. All cancelled because of the weather.
We've seen this story this morning, Sal, about the green man who lets you cross the road as a pedestrian.
Yes.
He's going to give us a little bit longer.
Is he?
Apparently because we're getting a bit slower, a bit more unfit, a bit older, we need a bit longer to cross the road.
I think that's true.
So currently it's 6.1 seconds to cross an average 2 lanes. And
Which isn't very long, actually.
You're getting an extra second, 7.3 seconds.
I think that's a very, very good idea. Nothing scarier than being halfway across and the green man goes.
But I suppose extra time for pedestrians means extra time waiting in your car.
Yes.
Means extra traffic jams.
Which might make some people grumpy.
Anyway,
yes.
happy rush hour, everybody.
Front pages for you. One story on many of them, thousands of holiday makers and locals scrambled to escape the wildfires sweeping the Greek holiday island that is on the front of the Sun. The Express describes the situation there as hell on earth. The Metro's headline is Roads on Fire. Our terror. The Mirror has spoken to a number of British tourists stranded on the Greek island. It is the same story for today's Guardian, which says Greece has mounted its biggest ever evacuation operation on the island. And the Telegraph reports there's increasing pressure on holiday companies to fly stranded Britons out of Rhodes. The Eye reports that as Rhodes burns, Rishi Sunak is being warned not to row back on any of his green policies, even though some have been labelled unpopular and expensive. The Times says some green policies are already in line to be scaled back. The Mail speaks to Chancellor Jeremy Hunt, who has been diagnosed with skin cancer, but is thankful, he tells the paper, it was caught early. And the FT leads with news that powerful Republican donors could start putting funding from presidential hopeful Ron DeSantis because his policies may be too far to the right. Right, as ever, if you want to see any of those front pages again, or indeed read the stories, then do scan the QR code on your screen.